welcome to EMS Office Hours. This is Jim Hoffman, and this is your Monday Minutes. Today I'm going to actually be starting out a new series, and this is a EMS quick study series. Some of these you might find sort of very basic or mundane, or things that you kind of just know because you've been in EMS for a while, or some of them might even be very common sense related. But these are all the types of things that you might see on an exam when you're taking either a state, a federal, or even a local, regional type of an exam, right? So often what I hear from a lot of people, one of the questions that get asked to me is, what is on the exam? And while I can't give you, and no one really can give you the answers of what's going to be on an exam, these sort of quick study tips and quick study videos are the types of things that will give you some of the key elements that you might see on an exam that are often seen on many exams, and should at least allow you to sort of get those questions right off the bat, that are sort of like give me questions, right? Questions that you really shouldn't have to think about, questions that should be the type of things that are just a basic element of your EMS training, okay? So these here videos are going to hopefully be the type of thing that's going to kind of hammer home these key points and allow you to sort of recall these key points when you need them when you're taking your next exam. So this one today is on EMS foundations, and again, very quick, very basic stuff, okay? But again, they are not designed to go in depth into the textbook or in depth into a particular topic, but they are designed to give you those key points that you're going to need to succeed on your next exam. So let's get right into it. And we talk about EMS, emergency medical systems, right, or emergency medical services, and their components within EMS. Then they're defined by the National Highway and Traffic Safety, okay? You have things like fire-based, third service, private ambulance services, hospital ambulance-based services, and also volunteer systems. Now, keep in mind that what I'm going over here might not cover every element of what this is going to be, right? But it's going to cover the highlights, all right? So I'm not going to break down each individual thing here as far as fire-based, third service, things like that. But what I'm trying to do is just break down the highlights, the subtopics of these key elements here that you're going to see on a test, okay? EMD, or the emergency medical dispatcher. These are the people, of course, that assign calls based on a distance to a call, the type of call, the time of the day that you might be responding to, level of care, and all different types of response times and response systems are different depending upon what type of organization or agency you're working for. You might be the type of thing where you're assigned at a post. Some of them might be the type of thing where you're assigned to one garage. Some people might be assigned to where you sit on a street corner and you respond from a street corner, or even volunteer systems where you're responding from your home, okay? But in any event, what we're focusing on here when we talk about foundations, when you hear the term EMD, or emergency medical dispatcher, the overall description is the person that assigns calls based on distance to the call, time of day, and the level of care that's needed. Now, this is something you might see a lot too, right? Is the question might say something like, what's the first rule of EMS? Or do no harm is. And quite often, do no harm is known as the very first rule in EMS. Now, training and certification, the national curriculum, serves as a foundation for training EMTs, paramedics, okay? And the types of training, the types of certification or recognition you get depends upon a few things, right? Reciprocity is one, and this is where you can get an exchange of your paramedic or EMT privileges or your license by two different agencies or two different states, okay? It depends upon where you're at. Some states allow reciprocity. Some regions from one to another will allow reciprocity for, let's say, medical control privileges, things like that, okay? Licensure. Now, this is a big thing. Not every place allows EMTs or paramedics to be licensed. There are states that do have licensed paramedics. Some of them have where you have some paramedics are licensed and some paramedics are certified. But a license, okay, for our foundation purposes, is that process by which an agency grants permission to an individual to engage in a profession or occupation because they meet the minimum competency or qualifications. Now, I read that out because this is the type of thing when you get taken an exam. Again, these are the types of definitions, and when you read this, it might not be verbatim on an exam, but you're going to hopefully catch these key sort of sentences, these key words within the description that's going to ring that bell in your head and allow you to get that answer correct. Finally, certification, which is I think probably the biggest thing when we talk about EMTs and paramedics, is when you are get recognition, okay, by meeting certain qualifications, by meeting certain skills and competencies, okay, things like taking an exam, taking a skill exam, taking a written exam, okay. Now, again, when you talk about the actual description and you see in the test, it might say something like certification oath. What is the action by which an agency grants recognition to an individual who has met its qualifications? And the answer might show you license, certification, something like that. And then you'll be able to go ahead and say and remember these key words, these key elements in the sentence, and hopefully be able to ring that bell for you, and then know that they're looking for the answer of certification or the description of certification. Now, medical direction. This is that medical supervision of an EMS system and the field performance of paramedics and EMTs, right? It's sort of like that invisible supervisor that's out there with you when you're out there in the field, okay? And you go by things like protocols, you go by things like which are written instructions, and these are developed by your medical director or a medical director for a state, and it's for the care of patients with specific conditions, chest pain, difficulty breathing, trauma calls, things like that, okay? And then you have your standing orders, which are within the protocols, and those are the interventions that you can do without calling medical control for further orders. Now, again, these are pretty common sense descriptions, right? And you might have heard varying descriptions of these terms. But what I'm trying to do again, guys, when you see the word protocol, think of what you're seeing here. Think of these key words and key descriptions that you're going to see spelt out for you on an exam, okay? And hopefully when you see things like the protocols and you see that developed by a medical director, care of patient-specific conditions, or standing orders, interventions that are completed before contacting medical direction or medical control. These hopefully are the things that are going to ring that bell in your head, and these are going to be the questions you're going to get right off without having to think too much, because it's not going to be a scenario, it's not going to be a medical math question, it's not going to be a dosage question, it's going to be something that is very specific to a definition, okay? So keep that in mind when you're watching these episodes, that these episodes are not meant to delve too deep into it. It's meant to give you that meat and potatoes, those key elements and key guidelines, so that you can get that question right by understanding and recalling those elements of that description or elements of that process, okay? Finally, guys, we're going to talk a little bit here about the continuous quality improvement when we talk about EMS foundations. And this is that evaluation of what you do out in the field, right? The services that you provide, the results that happen, how you document, okay? And based upon, they compare that with the standards that are accepted in whatever region that you're in. Maybe it's a national standard, maybe it's a local standard, maybe it's based on your medical control options, maybe it's based on what your agency is trying to look at, okay? Now, it looks for system-wide problems, it can elaborate the causes of a problem, and it develops remedies. You can continuous quality improvement also helps to give you a plan, right? It allows a plan to be put out there that can implement remedies that get developed because of a system-wide problem, right? And then going to enforce that plan, okay, by correcting things that you might be doing out there in the field that's wrong, okay? And then after a while, or after a certain period of time, after evaluation and enforcement of the correction that they're looking to get done to improve the problem that they see, they're going to re-examine that problem, and hopefully it'll be improved, or they will have to go back to the beginning and try to figure out the causes of the problem, what they can, developing those remedies on fixing that problem. But again, for our purposes here, guys, EMS Foundations, we're looking at the QA type approach here, right? And when you see continuous quality improvement on an exam, these little bullet points here are the types of things you're going to see within the question. So the idea is to remember these key elements when you see that heading, continuous quality improvement, or you see these key elements, that these key elements relate to continuous quality improvement. Okay? Now guys, listen, I hope this makes sense. I hope this is the type of thing that as we go on, it'll start to click a little bit more for you and make you understand that these quick videos here are not meant to delve too much into it, okay? But these quick study tips and quick study videos here are going to really hammer home those key points that are going to help you remember these topics and these subjects when you sit down for that exam and you see something like protocols. You go, oh yeah, I remember, I saw that on a video, that protocols are XYZ. Oh yeah, continuous quality improvement. I remember seeing something in one of those videos where it really hammered home the key elements, or what the bullet points were when it comes to what continuous quality improvement is. And this is the type of thing, so when you sit down for that exam, it'll start to ring that bell. Now, of course, some of these things you already know or are very mundane to you, or you pretty much have a good understanding of it, right? So as we go, when you see the title, you don't have to necessarily watch every single video, but you'll be able to go ahead and pick and choose as we go on which ones it might be more beneficial to you. And just like when you study, right, you don't study the entire book, you study the books, parts of the book or parts of the textbook that are really that you're struggling with, or things that you want to really quickly brush up on, okay? So I hope you can use these Monday Minutes. I hope this makes sense, and that as we go forward, you will start to realize what we're trying to do here with these videos and where we're going with this series. Now, this is sort of a subsection of Monday Minutes. You're going to see regular Monday Minutes that we've done in the past, but we're going to be adding in these episodes for a few weeks here to get going and get off on the right foot with these. And these will be posted both at emsofficehours.com and also on the main website at emsseo.com. All right, so I hope you can use these Monday Minutes. Now, if you like these types of things, right, these types of really quick, study tips, really quick study resources, I have a really cool guide here. This is a EMS quick study guide. This guide, guys, is very popular on the website at emsseo.com, and it's really like the meat and potatoes, like I mentioned before, of an EMS course, okay? The perfect type of thing. It's about 115 pages, and it's perfect to review before you take an exam, okay? Really quick overview of terms or subject that you might be, forgetting or having a little trouble remembering, okay? So the night before the exam, the morning of the exam, well, you don't want to sit there and study a whole textbook, right? You can kind of browse through this really quick and remember those and sort of get those key elements refreshed in your brain before you sit down for that test, okay? This is really a one-stop resource. You get all the sort of the hot topics that you're going to see on state and national exams, okay? And again, this is the basics of what usually you're going to see on the exam. Those highlights, things like what is a blood pressure, what's systolic blood pressure versus diastolic pressure, where the abdominal quadrants are, what's in every quadrant, basic anatomy and physiology, things like that. The stuff that doesn't go too deep to it, because you should know it sitting down for the exam, right? That really deep stuff. This is the type of stuff that's going to be that beaten potatoes, like I said, the stuff you can review for that's going to really help you when you sit down, recall some of this content, recall some of this information without having to go and skim through that gigantic textbook and try to find these really quick topics real quick before you sit down for your exam. So go check this out if you're interested in this. This comes as both a physical or a digital guide. You can either have a physical copy mailed to you, or you can just download the digital version. So go ahead and click the link here that says click here for details, and you can go read more about it and what's all inside of it and how you can get your hands on this study resource. So guys, again, as always, I hope you can use these Monday Minutes. If you have some of your own, send them over to me. It's contact@emsofficehours.com. Until next week, as always, Jim Hoffman, stay safe.